can be defined as generic type, so that the type of properties can be defined while allocating memory can be defined while allocating memory for object So this is a general syntactical example for that, how a class can be generic. This all we are going to use in our Angular. There you will understand in a real world situation where to use them. Here we are just discussing about what it is and how it is written and how it is configured, how to use it and how to deal with this, so that we are going to understand in our examples, so that we will do in general when we are working with our Angular environment, right? Here we are just understanding the concept of generic. And very important is, actually the intention of generic is, in future you can even use it for user defined type, your own types. So that is important. Later you will understand about that, how we can define our own type and configure our own type. So that means you can use even generic constraints. We can configure generic constraint relationship also, right? Those you will see in the future when you are working with it. That means actually it can be user defined type also. That means, for example, see, user defined types, later situation will come. For example, I am creating an interface. It is a product. iProduct is an interface. And it is having, so the members like name. It is having name. It is a string type. Okay, some price. So price. It is a number type. These are the options configured here. Now what I'm doing here is I'm creating a class. And when I'm creating a class, I'm defining the type. That means class name, and I'm defining the type. Now important, when you are configuring the interface or a class, can be those types when you are configuring them. Now here important is, when you are allocating memory for that, let obj is equal to new demo. Into that we can pass iProduct as a type. That means it's not like it should be every time a primitive or a non-primitive type. So this is a user defined type. That means the memory allocated is user defined type. That means now this is user defined type. That means demo is allocated with this type of value. Of course, this can be an interface. Interface is always intended for defining the rule. Suppose it can be a class. Called product, and I can make this memory as product type. So that I can handle the product type values in this memory. Usually it is a product type, means so it can handle name, price, like things. So that is a generic type. That means here I am defining, so console.log. So here I am creating some method, public. So, and I am configuring some print method. And it has to print the values. So to print the values, we can use a generic collection also. That means it can read these type of values and it can print those type of values. That means product type values. Actually, defining the product type is done in the memory. That means the memory allocated for this particular uh, demo class is product type memory. Then what it can do is it can access those product type values and it can handle those product type values. It can handle those product type values. It can handle the product type. Actually, console.log here I am defining. So what is that? The class, if I define these members, if I define this, means there is a lot of hierarchy here, lot of situations are there, which we will discuss in later stage. That's the reason I'm just giving an overview. That means suppose this is a public, a static member, static name, and this is a public and a static. So we have price. So we have name and price. Then here we are accessing them. Here we are accessing them. Product.name. We are accessing the product.name. And so in the next line, so I am printing like some product.price. So product.price, the product.price, because it is a static. I can create an object. Through that object, we can access it. We can use aggregation like techniques also right here. Now the point is while memory is allocated, if it is allocated of product type, then it is easy to handle those type of values. That type of situation will come in later stage. I will explain about that. So we will discuss about that situation in later stage. So we will discuss about that, how to handle this type, because for that we need complex data. Means generally our objects will be of that particular type. Actually, technically, our objects will be of that particular type. So that means in a more better way here, suppose see, we created a product and product is having two members. So that is a name and a price, two members. And obviously when I'm creating an object, TV, I can make this with colon. So the type, that means it is of type T. So that means it is of types here, initially product. Then what type of values it can handle? You have to configure the values here. And obviously you have to handle two types of values if it is an object. What is it? So it is a name type. So name, it contains a string value and it contains price and which contains a number value, right? This situation we already encountered when I discussed about the interfaces. I told you about this situation. That means, so now TV is not a string type or a number type or an array type or a Boolean type. Now this TV is actually, it is a generic type. Means user defined type actually. Now important is, can you configure this as a generic type? That means, so can you configure this as a generic type? So that means I am defining a type, generic type. So you can do that, but not here. So you create a method. In the method you configure as a generic type, and through the generic type you can access and use the values. So that means it is possible, we can configure that. That means now when you say that it is generic type, obviously you are not sure about what type of value is coming now. Later you pass this as a product. That means it is a product type. Then if it is a product type, we can configure this to handle that product type of values. For that we need to create the methods and functions and handle them, right?